Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The year 2006 marked the release of Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, a documentary that, more than a mere film, emerged as a pivotal cultural artifact. It presented a stark, unflinching assessment of anthropogenic climate change. The film directly confronted a complex scientific problem, translating it into accessible language for a broad audience. Gore's central thesis, articulated throughout the film, established human activities, particularly the combustion of fossil fuels, as the primary engine driving global warming. This, he asserted, would lead to catastrophic consequences across the globe. The documentary marshalled an array of visual aids, including projections of rising global temperatures, shrinking glaciers, and the escalating concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, particularly carbon dioxide. These elements served to vividly illustrate the projected effects of unchecked emissions. Gore deployed data visualizations, presenting graphs displaying the historical correlation between atmospheric carbon dioxide levels and global temperatures. These representations, readily understood by a lay audience, aimed to demonstrate the direct impact of human actions upon the Earth's climate systems. He highlighted the observed melting of glaciers, documented in stark visual terms, and coupled with these, discussions of rising sea levels and the projected displacement of populations. The film projected a cascade of environmental problems, the increased frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, from hurricanes to droughts, all linked to the underlying problem of a warming planet caused by greenhouse gases emitted from human activities. The film's target audience was deliberately broad. It aimed to inform the general public, including those who may have disregarded the scientific consensus or remained unconvinced about the urgency of climate change. It sought to empower its audience with information, urging viewers to engage in a dialogue centered on the environmental concerns. The film's intent resonated with an audience already primed for such a narrative. The film benefited from a growing global awareness concerning environmental issues, a context in which it quickly resonated with environmental protection organizations, educators, and political activists. The film's reception was complex. It garnered considerable acclaim. It won both critical praise and widespread viewership. Gore was lauded for his persuasive delivery, his commitment to the issue, and his ability to translate complex scientific findings into a readily understandable format for the general public. The film resonated within the scientific community, with groups of climate scientists providing support, endorsing its message that climate change posed a profound threat. This support provided the film with credibility, bolstering its claims. Nevertheless, An Inconvenient Truth also faced substantial criticism. Critics questioned the accuracy of some of the film's scientific claims, specifically claiming that certain predictions were exaggerated. Some opponents questioned the methodology employed in the film's data presentations. There were disputes concerning the degree to which specific events could be directly attributed to climate change. A central critique suggested that the film offered a simplified picture of a complex scientific problem, one which did little to acknowledge the nuanced considerations and uncertainties that form the bedrock of climate study. Despite the criticisms, the film's impact on the public discourse was undeniable. It helped elevate climate change to the forefront of policy debates, sparking discussions among politicians, policymakers, and the public. The film spurred people to question energy consumption, embrace conservation measures, and advocate for more sustainable practices. An Inconvenient Truth provided a catalyst for a broader environmental movement. It helped to motivate individuals to adopt sustainable practices, from home energy efficiency to public policy. It ultimately shaped the global dialogue on climate change. It was a powerful tool, introducing a wider audience to the science and the potential consequences of a warming planet. The film's legacy lies not merely in its scientific arguments, but in its ability to generate a widespread awareness. The film's portrayal of climate science, particularly its visual communication methods, warrants close examination. An Inconvenient Truth leveraged a potent arsenal of visual aids to explain intricate scientific concepts. Gore employed graphs tracing carbon dioxide concentrations, illustrating a correlation between these levels and global temperatures. He utilized animations of melting glaciers and polar ice caps, a visual narrative of the rapid changes occurring in the Arctic and Antarctic regions. He showed the shrinking of the snows atop Mount Kilimanjaro, a stark depiction of climate change already affecting various ecosystems. These illustrative methods were pivotal in translating complex scientific data into an accessible form for general audiences. The film made a deliberate, considered effort to simplify the complexity of the science. This approach, while beneficial in accessibility, also presented challenges. The simplification processes by necessity removed context and nuance. For instance, while the film highlighted the potential for increased hurricane intensity due to warmer ocean waters, it did so without a full explanation of the multivariable dynamics driving hurricane development or the intricacies of climate models. The film's central argument that human-caused greenhouse gas emissions are driving significant global warming was firmly rooted in the prevailing scientific consensus. Studies, like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports, provided rigorous evidence supporting this position. The film's portrayal of the thermal expansion of the oceans, leading to sea level rise, reflected well-established scientific findings. The film's depictions of the melting ice sheets and glaciers, which are critical contributors to sea level, also reflected the consensus scientific understanding. The impact of the film was felt in public policy and international agreements. It helped galvanize public support for international climate action. The film fueled the push for the development of the Paris Agreement and other international efforts aimed at curbing emissions and adapting to the effects of climate change. It played a role in shaping public perception on climate change. The film's influence extends beyond the realm of climate science, reaching art history and influencing documentary filmmaking. The film's success spawned a wave of environmental documentaries, each attempting to communicate, in its own way, the challenges of climate change. The film established a framework for how to present environmental science to the public. This included the use of compelling visuals, personal narratives, and a clear call to action. The film's legacy is multifaceted. It introduced many to the realities of climate change. The film contributed to greater citizen engagement in politics. However, this effort had some unintended impacts. Critics argued that the film oversold some of the scientific projections, and the visual presentation of the science oversimplified the inherent uncertainties of scientific inquiry. Some scientists and commentators questioned the film's portrayal of some of the science, calling for increased precision in the presentation of the scientific data and a greater representation of the range of views within scientific circles. Gore himself later acknowledged some small errors in the film's data. The film generated a debate about how climate science is communicated to the public. The film's success was, in part, due to its ability to simplify complex scientific information and present it in a manner accessible to a wide audience. However, this simplification process also drew criticism. There were accusations that the film occasionally downplayed some of the uncertainties inherent in climate modelling. The film's long-term impact is clear. It stimulated a much wider discussion on climate change. It helped set in motion a global political and social process that continues to evolve. Its impact on the scientific community was one of scrutiny. The scientific community, in its turn, has continued to improve its climate modelling and its methods of scientific communication to the public. The film created a standard for environmental documentaries. An Inconvenient Truth remains a landmark in environmental advocacy. It demonstrated the power of art and film to educate. The film will endure in its contribution by raising awareness.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.